alumni joining us, but good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome, very warm welcome. It is great to see you all. Just a couple of housekeeping points before we begin. Just want to remind you that this event is being recorded and part or all of it may be shared with the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Trust and St Anne's alumni. So I hope that's all okay with you. So if you can keep your camera switched on, that would be great. And if you're not speaking, then please do mute yourselves unless you have a question. I'm sure we all know how to raise our hands and use the chat function and so on. So yeah, let's get going. So my name is Felice Nassar, and I am Senior Development Officer at St Anne's College, Oxford. And I would like to warmly welcome you, each and every one of you, and also introduce our guest speaker this evening, Professor Fiona McConnell, who is Professor of Political Geography at the School of Geography and the Environment, and also tutor and fellow at St Catherine's College, Oxford. Professor McConnell is also Director of Graduate Studies at the School of Geography and the Environment for the 5 MSc and 4 MPhil programmes. So we're delighted to welcome you this evening, Fiona, and look forward to hearing more from you in a little while. St Anne's development team, which I am part of, works with alumni like yourselves and with donors to the college, such as the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Trust, with the goal of supporting current students in many ways. And some of those ways are through scholarships, providing opportunity for talented and aspirational young people who share St Anne's vision, which is to understand the world and to change it for the better. So the purpose of tonight's event is to mark and to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Scholarships by bringing together as many scholar alumni as possible to give you an opportunity to meet one another and to tell us what you've been doing in your careers since leaving Oxford. And we'd also really like to encourage you to stay connected with each other and explore how you might form a network to support each other going forward if you found that useful. So a bit later on, I'm going to go around the screen and invite each of you to introduce yourselves, tell us when you were here in Oxford, just explain a little bit about why this scholarship was important for you, and also to share what you're doing in your career at the moment. This group of graduate alumni is one that at St Anne's we're very proud of, because you represent around 17 countries over the decade, and you work in an amazing array of different careers around the world. So before we hear a bit more from you though, I wanted to share a little bit about St Anne's College, your home in Oxford, and how the history of this place has laid strong foundations for a scholarship like this one to thrive. St Anne's began, as you may know, as the Society of Home Students in 1879. It was founded as a place for women to learn at a time when women were not allowed to get a degree from Oxford. And our founding fellows led the 40+ year campaign for the University of Oxford to admit and award degrees to women. So its roots were about giving opportunity to those who would not otherwise have it. Women were taught by women at the Society of Home Students for over 40 years before they could be awarded a full degree in 1920. And it was not till 1952 that the Society became a full college of the university. And our community at St Anne's has long been a diverse and international one, including Dr. Merzey Tate, who you may or may not have heard of. But she was the first African-American woman to attend the University of Oxford in 1932, and she came to St Anne's. That spirit of inclusivity and valuing diversity endures to this day at St Anne's, and we are a forward-looking, outward-facing college that is committed to widening participation and bringing the brightest and best minds to Oxford, no matter what their personal or financial circumstances. And this is why we're so pleased to have a partnership with donors like the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Trust, who can help us put these values into practice through scholarships. We're really excited to hear more from you about what you've gone on to do after completing your master's degree here in Oxford. But first, I want to hand over to Professor Fiona McConnell just to talk about the place of these scholarships in the School of Geography and the Environment and how they've contributed to the rich global environment at the graduate school over the last decade. So I'm going to hand over to Fiona now, and my colleague Jason is going to support with putting some slides on the screen. He's going to share the screen. So over to you, Fiona.
Many thanks, Felice, and for the invitation to speak this evening, and a really warm welcome to everyone. I'm really delighted to be part of this event and the celebration as well of 10 years of these scholarships. As Felice said, I'm Fiona. I'm a political geographer in the School of Geography and the Environment, and I'm currently Director of Graduate Studies for the now 5 MSc courses and 4 MPhil courses. So it's a real pleasure to be here to celebrate 10 years of the Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholarships, and to get a chance to meet with you as well and to hear about your experiences at the School of Geography and what you've been up to since graduating. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion afterwards. So what I want to do then in the time I have this evening is to really briefly highlight the impact that you as a group of scholars, there's now over 35 Allan and Nesta Ferguson Scholars have come through the School of Geography, the impact you've had on the geography community here at Oxford. And to give you just a little bit of a sense of the wider kind of graduate geography community out there and what they're up to. And in the slides I'm going to show, I want to give a thanks to the very wonderful Ian Curtis, our development officer at the School of Geography, who's been helping me and pull together some quite amazing facts and figures, which I'll show you in a second. Is it possible to get the slides up, Jason? Ah, wonderful, thank you. Super, and if we can go on to slide number 2, that would be amazing. Thanks. So as you know, we have 5 master's programs, and I think we have folk from at least 4 of them here this evening. We've got NSEG, which used to be NSEP. We've got BCM, WSPM, ECM, and then the MSc in Sustainability, Enterprise and the Environment, which was launched just over a year ago. And these courses are some of the most popular and competitive courses across the entire university. All of them attract the very best students from across the world, and they are consistently oversubscribed. Together, we now have an annual intake of around 130 to 140 students, and we regularly have students from over 40 countries as part of our postgraduate community. So these students are then part of our international graduate school at the School of Geography, and along with the doctoral students, this is one of the largest grouping of geography graduate students in the world, and we're really proud of that. It's a really sizable body of researchers and graduate students here. And the School of Geography and the Environment itself has been a leader really in global rankings in the field of geography throughout the last decade. We're internationally recognised for the quality of our research and our teaching. We're quite distinctive in hosting 3 globally renowned research centres, which I imagine you will have had some kind of contact with at your time in Oxford. So this is the Environmental Change Institute, the Transport Studies Unit, and the Smith School for Enterprise and the Environment. And we're also really proud of the wide range of partners with whom we collaborate with and our significant contributions. And this includes work by graduate students in the advancing social and environmental policy making. Could I have the next slide, please, Jason? So the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Scholarships are the largest external philanthropic scholarship programme in the School of Geography and the Environment. As Felice said, the body of scholars over the last 10 years have come from 17 countries across Africa, Asia, Eastern Europe, South and Central America. And this group of nationalities has made a really important and really valuable addition to the international nature of the master's cohort. As a body of students, you've supported and been a really essential catalyst for diversifying our graduate community and helping to foster what we think is a really distinctive, open and interactive aspect of our master's programs. In other words, the generosity of the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Trust is contributing to the experience and the learning of the entire cohort of graduate students in the School of Geography, as well as to the Trust's individual scholars. And for that, we're just really grateful. So these master's programs are state-of-the-art. They are very much research-led programs which engage with the very latest in geographical and environmental scholarship. Each consists of a series of course-specific core modules and then a wide range of electives which cross-cut the modules and enable our students to meet colleagues working on other courses. And of course, as you all very well know, each course has a really important research component in terms of the dissertation, a chance for students to conceive of, design and carry out their own independent pieces of research. And speaking to students over the years, I think this is one of the things that they're most proud of when they graduate from the master's degree. We have more than 100 staff and researchers in the School of Geography teaching on these courses, and a number of them also feature lecturers from NGOs, business and government. And one of the most important features of the courses, which is valued within every class every year, has been the real diversity of fellow students. So this is diversity across nationalities, cultures, career paths, expertise and academic disciplines. So I've already mentioned the number of countries that the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Scholars come from, but also having a look that as a group, you've come from academic disciplines ranging from economics, electronics and telecommunications, to English literature, forestry, law, politics, theology and engineering. And I think that's just such an important breadth of knowledge and expertise that our students bring to these programs, and it's the exchanges within the programs that are so important. And I think it's this variety and this diversity is so crucial as well to how environmental challenges and solutions are viewed, both within the courses and then what students go on to do after they graduate. And this diversity is equally reflected and indeed augmented amongst the scholars, fellow students at St Anne's College. And I think it's something both the school and the college can be really proud of. So our master's courses, we actively seek to make the most of this kind of diversity benefit through requiring extensive and regular individual contributions from our students on the programs. Through classwork and group projects. We keep our classes deliberately small, so 25 to 35, which promotes these individual contributions and these exchanges of ideas and experiences. So it's very much about the kind of shared experience rather than the kind of the lecturer at the front delivering what they know. And it's worth noting that the majority of students, including yourselves and your fellow scholars, have often spent a number of years working in relevant fields before coming to Oxford. And I think that experience of various organisations, contexts and settings is also really valuable to the learning experience on the programmes. And I think we see that then as well reflected in the really broad range of dissertation topics. So I was having a look at some of the topics that yourselves and other Allan Nesta Ferguson scholars have done. They've ranged from environmental and social problems of hydropower plants in China to elephant-human conflicts in southern Ghana, from geoengineering and public dialogue to using mobile phones for water payments in Malawi, and from Indigenous rights and climate change in the Amazon to the cultural challenges of cycling in Belgrade. So just a snippet there, the huge range, but also stressing how timely and important these kind of topics and projects of research are in today's world. And also the scholarships have provided a really valuable connection with St Anne's College, a college which, as Felice has noted, I think shares very much the same values as the School of Geography in terms of the focus on sustainability and diversity. It's a college which has had a long tradition of doing geography, and there's a strong geography community there. And it's a connection that the school very much values. Could I get the next slide, please, Jason? Thanks. So this is where I've been calling on the expertise of Ian Curtis to do some number crunching. So since graduating from Oxford, the Allan and Nesta Ferguson Scholars have collectively undertaken over 150 years of employment, and it's growing. As a group, you've worked for more than 80 organisations spread across international, national and local governments, business and NGOs, as well as universities and other research and education centres. Many of you have been developing really significant career paths across a number of organisations, and have worked on sustainability topics ranging from clean energy to food, water, conservation, land management, pollution, climate change. As a group, you've had varied roles, ranging from consultants to campaigners, lawyers to social entrepreneurs, civil servants to researchers, conservationists to technicians, and many more. So I included here just a few of the current organisations with whom Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholars are working. Could I have the next slide, please, Jason? And of course, as a group, you're part of a global cohort of more than 2,300 graduates from the 5 master's courses at the School of Geography and the Environment. And this cohort has worked across 2,000 different organisations in more than 80 countries. I mean, that spread really is astonishing when you think about it. And this is where Ian and his number crunching comes in again. So you've contributed to more than 300 years at the UN and over 100 years at the World Bank alone. But what I think is actually even more significant is that as a cohort of graduate students, you're spread actually quite thinly over a huge number of organisations. So he's calculated that there's over 12,000 years of School of Geography MSc working years out there. And most of those, the vast majority of those, are over a range of different organisations. So in other words, you're unlikely to bump into another alumni of the School of Geography in your workplace. And that's where we think that the importance of alumni networks through college and through the School of Geography are really important, because it's those connections across the 80 odd countries that you're working and the 2,000 different organisations that we think can be really valuable. So there is really an impressive transglobal professional network out there. Could I have the next slide, please, Jason? So School of Geography, we're trying to foster that network and to promote interaction, collaboration and friendship across the master's cohorts of alumni. We're also encouraging our alumni to engage with our current cohorts of students. We've had some really positive experience of that, whether it's coming up with ideas for dissertation projects, suggestions of internships, mentoring, or providing careers advice. So the alumni now really does have a critical mass, and do get in touch with Ian, myself, or other folk in the department if you aren't already connected and there's any connections you'd like to make. And of course, as a group of Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholars, now 10 years of the scholarships, you're a group that's getting increasing work experience out there and becoming very established within your fields. And that's only going to increase as the years go on. Could I have the last slide, please, Jason? Thanks. So really, to sum up, through the last decade, the Allan Nesta Ferguson Charitable Trust has made a really unique contribution to the lives of more than 35 students, yourselves included, as well as the community at St Anne's, and very much the community of graduate scholars and faculty here at the School of Geography and the Environment. You've had a really positive impact on our graduate community, to which we're really grateful. You've added expertise, experience, and thoughtful engagement across the master's programmes. And of course, you've gone on to make hugely important contributions across the various sectors of environmental sustainability across the world, whether that's working in business, governments, NGOs, and research. And we wish you all the very best for the future. I will wrap up there. Thanks, Felice.
Thank you very much, Fiona. That was really insightful, and we really appreciate your perspective of the School of Geography. Thank you. Great. Well, now it's time to open up to hear some more from you. What I'd like to do is actually invite our current scholar, who is Anushka Pandey. Now, I know, Anushka, you need to leave a little bit early, so we'd love to hear from you first. Would you just like to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about how this scholarship came to happen for you, how you wanted to come and take this master's degree in Oxford, and just tell us a bit about your aspirations, really, what you're hoping to do beyond Oxford.
Hi, everybody. My name's Anushka. It's an honor to be part of this cohort of scholars, and I'm pretty excited about what all of this is going to bring me in the coming years. It's only been a month since I arrived at Oxford. So my background is in agriculture. I am from Nepal. I did my undergrad in agriculture, and for my internship, I was taken off to a rural village in Nepal, where I decided to stay and do my research with female farmers. I did see a huge migration problem of the men. So agriculture was suddenly women's job there, but they were not very well acquainted with the equipment, or the market wasn't very women friendly. So I spent quite a bit of time working with them. And that is when I kind of thought of my passion for women and water kind of came from. And at that moment, and this was back in 2019, and I knew I wanted to pursue water as my post-grad degree. And looking at all of the degrees, it was either too technical or just very socio-cultural aspect, revolving around socio-cultural aspects. So when I came across the WSPM program by Oxford, it was just a very perfect amalgamation of both the context that I really wanted to dive in. And so I worked for quite a bit in Nepal, and due to COVID, I was pushing back my studies a bit. So I came to uni after 3.5 years. And when I decided, it was certainly a big financial challenge, because coming from a South Asian country like Nepal, an Oxford degree is definitely a challenge financially as well. And when St. Anne's, I got accepted to St. Anne's, and got awarded with a scholarship. I was over the moon, and it just feels very right. And St. Anne's is a great community. I'm so glad I got to meet all of you today. I was almost about to back out because of my other commitment, but I'm so glad I get to meet all of you. I hope to connect with all of you further along. And yeah, it was great meeting you all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anushka. And it's really lovely to see our current scholar just 1 month in, and it probably brings back memories for the alumni here joining. So we wish you the best of luck with your program and your time here at St. Anne's. Fantastic. So I'm just going to go around my screen now. There's no particular order. It's just how you're appearing in front of me. So can we move next to, is it Zoavina? Is that how you pronounce your name? Is that right? Great.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind about my name, so I'm Zoavina.
Oh, sorry, Zoavina. Okay.
That's okay. Yeah, so hi, everyone. So pleased to meet you all today. I'm sorry it's really dark because it's pretty late in Madagascar. Okay. I'm from Madagascar, and I'm a vet. I'm a small animal and wildlife veterinarian, but also a conservationist. And I did my master's degree in biodiversity conservation and management back in 2014. I graduated a year afterwards, which was in 2015. And I am actually really glad to meet. I don't think when I was in Oxford, I met I met scholars from the Allan and the Nesta Ferguson. So I'm really glad to be part of this talk today. What else? So yeah, I mean, to get the scholarship from Allan and Nesta Ferguson was amazing. First of all, just to be accepted at Oxford was just beyond any dreams I didn't even think of. But I just did it. I say, I'm gonna try and I'll see how it goes. And then I got the scholarships. Amazing. It was not as easy as it was when I first came to Oxford, because, you know, new country and the financial challenges, as Anushka said, because of where I'm from, basically. But I'm so blessed and lucky to have made it through. And I mean, Oxford, you know, it's just amazing. If it's not the best university in the world, it's one of the best. And I met such good friends with my course mates. I mean, for personal development, living in another country, another culture, and met the good thing about Oxford as well, even at St. Anne's, was the diversity of people, ethnicity, nationalities, and backgrounds. I've made such good friends, and we're still in touch, which is amazing. I'm still in touch with my course mates, and even from the other masters. And as Professor McConnell said before, I think conservation is a small word, especially coming from Madagascar, where conservation, it's a big topic. It's really needed. I just had one of my best friends at Oxford a few months ago, doing some work in Madagascar. So like after 7 years, we met again, and she did some work with the Kew Gardens. And I now currently, I forgot to say that I'm an in-country director of an NGO called the Mad Dog Initiative. So which promotes wildlife conservation, animal health, and public health. So it is basically based on a One Health model. So maybe being a veterinarian, but then having the knowledge and theories from my master's in biodiversity and conservation management is really useful. So we do that. We work in protected areas because domestic carnivores are huge problems for our wild animals, such as fusas, lemurs, and so forth. So we're trying to reduce the numbers of free-roaming dogs in the village. With a spay and neuter program, and community conservation, and rabies vaccination. So to help the dogs themselves, but also to help the communities, and also to reduce the population of these dogs not to go into the forest and transmit diseases, and reduce competition with the wild animals. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm so sorry it took so long for me. It's quite a random talk, I guess.
Oh, it's great. Thank you so much, Sabina. That's really, really interesting. So interesting to have that angle of veterinary science as well. That's a really interesting contribution. Thank you very much. What time is it in Madagascar right now?
It is 9:30. It's not really late, but it's
yeah. Fantastic. Well, many thanks indeed. Okay, so we move on to Isabella. Would you like to go next?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice to meet you all. Thank you very much to the organizers of this event. It's such a nice pleasure to meet other fellow Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholars. I actually also didn't meet any of them while I was at Oxford. I did my master's, I did NSEC in 2018, 2019. And just like the previous people have said, when I applied, I was very much looking forward to that specific program, just because it's such a nice and multidisciplinary course in environmental governance. And when I was awarded the scholarship, I was as well over the moon. It made a difference for me in either going or not going to Oxford, basically. And my year in Oxford was as well just such a dream when I remember it. Oxford is such a wonderful place, particularly being part of St. Anne's and of the School of Geography and the Environment. That's two places where really, really feels like a community, and I'm still very close with many of my friends there, both from St. Anne's and from NSEC and from the School of Geography and the Environment. So that was really, really great. I currently work for the International Institute of Environment and Development in London, where I work as part of a big program in partnership with the FAO, which is called the Forest and Farm Facility. And we work supporting various forest and farm producer organizations in various countries in Latin America, including Peru, which is my home country, and then other countries in Africa and Southeast Asia. Yeah, I mean, the lectures and everything that I got during my master's in NSEC in Oxford has really, really made a big impact in everything that I do today, I think, at different levels. So yeah, it was such an amazing time, and I'm very glad. I'm very thankful for the support, and very happy to meet other scholars. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Isabella. How interesting that you're based in London at the moment, and you're from Peru originally. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Do you have are you planning to stay in London? Do you have plans to go back to Peru? What are your thoughts?
Well, at the moment, I am really enjoying the work that I'm doing, so I will be staying in London for a few years. It also lets me work sometimes with partners in the country, so that also makes a difference for me. But who knows? Yeah, maybe I'll come back.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing what you're doing now and about your time when you were here in Oxford as well. And what I think we'd like to do now is actually we're going to play a short video. It's about just less than 5 minutes that has been put together by Daniel Gutierrez Patiño, who was one of the scholars from last year. He graduated recently. And he isn't able to join us today, but he did make this video for us just to add his contribution. So Jason, if you'd like to share your screen and show that to us all, that would be great.
Hello, everyone from the Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholarship. I am Daniel Gutierrez Patiño, a 27-year-old Colombian who just finished his master's degree in environmental change and management, funded by this trust. So I couldn't be there this time because I have this activity that I just cannot stop going to. But I wanted to send this video as first of all, like just an immense appreciation for the support. This has been something that truly I'm absolutely convinced that will transform my life and that I would never have been able to have the opportunity without the support of this trust. And yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of being a recipient of it. And, you know, it also speaks about the responsibility that impressive trust because we have responsibility for countries and to the world from the trust for being selected. And it's definitely something that I will have with me for the rest of my life. So thank you for that. Not only for giving me the opportunity, but reinforcing me psychologically to go forward in my journey. So I wanted, since I just finished the master, I also wanted to tell you a little bit about what my experience has been, and it has been life-changing as well. Like I have been devoted all of my life to environmentalism in Latin America, specifically in the Amazon. So I didn't know that much about all what encompassed the environmental journey in general, of how it's related to the tensions that we live within society, how it's also related to histories of colonial past, different understandings of life, meaning ontologies, epistemologies. This experience has made me understand that environmentalism in general and environmental management is basically just a lens in which you can understand all of the interactions of society. So this has been something that I once again will forever hold with me and will allow me to be more empathetic, be more holistic, understand things in a way in which it's not necessarily me who is correct in my understanding, but like just having a different kind of perspective around what challenges arise will be. My course mates were also something absolutely incredible. We were 25, 21 different nationalities from all over the world, also with very different understanding of climate change, of what types of solutions do we need, what kind of geopolitical arrangements should we drive to. So that was also something incredible. The teachers like Kate Rower, Miles Allen, just people that are like transforming the way that the whole planet understands climate change and general our relationship with nature and with ourselves. So this has also been something life changing for me, the teachers that I've met. And finally, I guess for the St. Anne's, which was also the, the college who gave me the opportunity to embark in all of this journey, is such a wonderful place. From the first moment, I felt so welcomed by the community of St. Anne. They do a really big effort to welcome because they know that we're newcomers, we don't know everyone, any person in the city. So they were from the first moment very helpful with me. I made very good friends that I'm very sure that will like for a last for a lifetime. Also, such a diverse college with so many different opinions and people who are doing so different kind of things. So that was also such an amazing experience, and I'm so thankful for it. So yeah, that was the video that I wanted to send you. Also tell you that please be in touch if you're interested in helping me safeguard the Amazon rainforest, which is what I'm still doing with my NGO, Saving the Amazon, which I was doing from before and it's still my life journey, which I wish to continue all throughout. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Jason, for sharing that. And apologies if it was a little bit jumpy, or I hope you could hear it okay. We will we'll send that round to you after the event anyway. We'll follow up with an email next week. But it was good that Daniel was able to share something of his experience as well in that short video. So if we continue with hearing from more of our alumni. Can we go to, is it Bakht? Are you in India, Bakht? Is that right? Whereabouts are you?
Hi everyone, I'm Bakht. I am in Pakistan at the
Pakistan.
moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
welcome.
Good evening or good afternoon, good morning everyone. I know everyone's in a different time zone. It's lovely to be on this online event and to touch with everyone. So a little bit about my background. So I joined St. Anne's in 2017. So I did my master's in the Water Science Policy and Management, WSPM, and it was a excellent program. And it was something that really added not just professionally but socially, and in terms of my personal development as well. And the scholarship, definitely a wonderful experience, and I couldn't have attended Oxford without the assistance that the scholarship gave to me. So for me, the scholarship was basically the difference between going to Oxford or not going to Oxford. And I think that was something that's a life-changing experience for me, and I always credit the Allan Nesta Ferguson Trust for this opportunity. Right after completing my master's, I returned back to Pakistan. So I joined the civil service here. I worked for the government. I was working. I'm still working with the customs at the moment. So I do border protection, anti-smuggling. But recently, with the floods in Pakistan, as all of you would have heard about it, that really changed the situation here. And suddenly, my government also saw that the research that I had done in my master's was actually climate resilience in Punjab, and it was about flood mitigation. And that's when I got pulled on to some of the teams working in Punjab. So I've found my way back into my field, sort of climate change, climate resilience, and sustainability. And we're working on developing local communities and building resilience in them so that they can protect themselves against climate change and the effects that is bringing it in the country. The devastation this year was beyond imagination. We've been on the ground here and we've seen more than 10 million are homeless. The losses have run into something above 30 billion US dollars. It's biblical in terms of scale. And that's when I realized that as a student of geography from Oxford, as someone who had studied there, had someone who had skills, I really have something which has been taught to me, and the experiences I've had can really make a difference in this country. And I think that's really true for all the countries that are at the forefront of climate change. And many of our countries, the 17 countries, the list I was seeing from Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholars, I think most of those countries are really at the front line of what is happening in terms of climate change and the impact it is bringing on communities and people. But that's a little bit about what I'm doing right now. And just that, St. Anne's was a home away from home. It really made me feel welcome. As a student, as an international student, you come into a brand new city, you don't know anyone, you don't have any friends, and your college is basically your home. And that was a wonderful experience. I spent, I would say, some of the best time of my life, a year and a half at Oxford. The School of Geography, again, an excellent program. My previous background was in political economy, so I had never studied anything related to geography. But the program was so well built and so well designed that it really allowed me to choose and select what I wanted to study and specialize in my own sort of field. It really allowed me to sort of customize the master's program. And I think that's one of the best things about the School of Geography. It really allows you to do what you want within the sort of boundaries of your program. And I think that's something that is not offered at most institutions. Couple that with the kind of people, global experts, leading researchers teaching you, and it really helps you to scale up the ladder, both professionally and personally.
So interesting. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, okay, Anushka, bye-bye. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us and good luck.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye for now. Bye-bye. It's just so fascinating to hear all these stories, and thank you for sharing what it's been like experiencing those floods in Pakistan. It's something that I think we've all watched on our TV screens and smartphones, but for you actually going through it, it's very sobering to hear it from somebody who's actually there. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's move on. Should we move to Matthew? Matthew, are you in South Africa? Is that right?
I am in South Africa,
Yeah,
yes.
great, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. So I am currently feeling a bit old because I was in the 2011-12 class. So I did an MSc in what was then NSEP, so Nature Society Environmental Policy, and is now NSEG. But I suppose, Professor McConnell, you've just put the prospect of centuries of work in my head. So, at the very beginning, even if I'm slightly on the old side in terms of this group. So I think, like others, I just start with a massive kind of thank you both to kind of the Allan Nesta Ferguson Scholarship, but also St. Anne's. I mean, like others, it made an incredible difference, and I don't think I would have been able to come to Oxford at all if it wasn't for that. And it just also, apart from the opportunity to attend at all and to kind of be immersed in such an environment, and also kind of opens up opportunities for you later on, partly because you don't have to worry too much, or at least you don't have to worry as much as you would have in terms of kind of going and paying off a huge amount of debt, for example, which I think is actually something that has a long-term effect on people's career choices. So for me, my background was in economics and development economics before I kind of switched and kind of took a step to the side and focused more on the environmental side. And I must be honest, part of the reason was because I kind of reflected and I thought, I don't really care about the environment back then. I knew that I should, right? And it's one of these things that you think about and you're like, yes, this is a very, very difficult and important problem. But I recognized that it's like, but I don't feel that, right? And I didn't like that. And so part of my coming was to try and change my own mind by immersing myself in an environment where people have really different experiences and aren't looking at just basically, costs and benefits as you do in economics. And seeing the environment mostly in terms of externalities. Happy to say that worked. So I mean, otherwise it would be a very short talk, right? I'd be like, no, don't care about it still, bye. It was really quite transformative. I mean, we had folks in the class that had been on the ground environmental activism, really kind of immersed in the issues that we know today are incredibly urgent and were urgent then. But just being able to listen to them, learn from them, talk to them, and obviously the wider environment, I remember thinking that it was kind of like an academic theme park. So you're hopping from talk to talk and just like so many interesting things. And St. Anne's obviously being an extremely diverse and welcoming community only strengthened that. So thank you. I think a heartfelt thanks to everyone. What I did next, so I went back to South Africa and I worked for a management consulting firm focused on international development. So essentially only did projects, or the consultancy only did projects that had a social impact or an environmental sustainability angle. So did quite a mix of projects, some in agriculture. At the beginning, I remember quite a few small agriculture projects. At some point, I was like, I don't like agriculture. Now I'm a big fan, which is good. But then also those in kind of youth employment, small business development, and kind of much more on the social end. I think what the course and what my experience at Oxford did for me was definitely instill a sense that I need to seek out opportunities to kind of find the environmental and sustainability angles within what is, in sub-Saharan Africa, often a very pressing kind of social impact context. So that's definitely the kind of problem, or those are the set of problems that you're often kind of faced with most urgently. And that kind of was definitely the course of my career over the first couple of years. And then my last few years at the consultancy, I was there for 6 years. I was focusing more on kind of impact investing. So how to use and donor tools essentially to focus finance in a way that has kind of better impact. And when you're investing for both social, environmental, and financial ends. After 6 years, I was quite tired. Consulting will do that to you, and also quite tired of being tired. But I wanted to keep within the kind of impact investing field. So then I joined the Department for International Development, as it was known then. Now we've been merged with Foreign Office to become the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, which is a bit of a mouthful. So what I do there is I'm the Southern Africa Regional Representative for our private sector department. So long story short, kind of a number of things at the intersection between the aid budget and investment and finance. So things like how to get more early stage investment into SMEs to create jobs and to kind of spur economic diversification. And over the last year especially, but really over the past 2 years, green finance has really become more and more of a focus. And I'm part of the UK team now that's working on the Just Energy Transition Partnership with South Africa. So that's the multi-donor partnership between the EU, France, Germany, the US, and the UK, to provide $8.5 billion to accelerate the decarbonization of South Africa's economy. So often it's kind of less exciting than it sounds. Obviously, lots of governments working together. It's fairly slow, but I think it is definitely bringing up a number of the issues that we explored actually during the course those years ago, and particularly the conflicts at times between the kind of social and developmental goals and the environmental ones. I know that a number of us would argue over the long term that there are no such conflicts and they kind of march in step. But it's been very interesting to kind of be in a very fraught and controversial environment in South Africa, where coal and support for coal is still actually fairly strong among certain kind of groups, and to try and navigate what it means to kind of really do this transition in a truly just way. So that is me. And I'll probably, I'll definitely stick with this kind of focus. I think is that combination of social and environmental goals and how you really kind of work towards a cleaner energy system and a cleaner just way of living and greener way of living, while kind of paying heed to the just and social components. Thanks.
Fantastic, thank you so much. I think really valuable for everybody as well to get your perspective, Matthew, as you know, one of the, as you say, one of the older alumni who's been out in the working world for perhaps longer than the other people here on the call. So it's really interesting and very inspiring to hear what you're doing, and great to hear about that sort of intergovernmental perspective as well. Really, really valuable. Thank you so much. So can I move to Amos, who we can't see, but Amos, are you able to join us with your camera on and unmute? How are you doing with your internet and everything? We can see you now, but we can't hear you. Can you unmute? You're still muted, Amos.
I guess now I'm not muted.
Well done. Thank you. Welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Felice. My name is Amos. I'm from Malawi originally, but at the moment I'm based in Tanzania. where I'm working for Belgian Development Agency as the water sector advisor, but also managing their water portfolio here in Tanzania, a bilateral program between the two governments, the government of Belgium and the government of Tanzania. Yes, as I introduced myself, I'm from Malawi. I joined Oxford in 2011, 2012, under the Water Science Policy and Management program, the master's program. And I must say that if it was not for the Nesta Ferguson Scholarship, I wasn't going to be able to come to Oxford, because in 2010, 2011, I was supposed to join Oxford. I had applied and I was accepted under this master's program. Unfortunately, even if I had managed to raise some money, I wasn't able to have enough to come to Oxford until, incidentally, I was in London at our office. At that time, I was working for WaterAid. And my job at that particular time was actually looking at water policy and advocacy. And so it happened that I was in London in the office, and it was a Friday, I remember. I had a team from Oxford that was visiting WaterAid. And I was asked to speak a little bit about what we were doing at a country level as WaterAid. Interestingly, I met some people who ended up being my lecturers, and it was quite interesting, because then I was asked a question: why didn't you come last time? We had your name. Actually, it was Robert Hawke who told me that. And I said, well, I failed because I couldn't raise enough money. And then I applied again. I said, can you try again? You never know. And then I applied again in 2011, and I was accepted. And then there came the Nesta Ferguson Scholarship, which I was awarded, which is something that I really forever be grateful that I was able to come. Coming to what I actually did immediately after I left Oxford, I joined Catholic Relief Services. The Catholic Relief Services, I was involved in the flood preparedness and mitigation of the impacts of floods under the OFDA USAID program. I did that for 5 years. And most of the things that I was actually doing are some of what I actually had learned from Oxford. I left CRS, which is the Catholic Relief Services, in 2018, joined the Belgian government under the Belgian Development Agency. Now I am working with them as a water sector advisor, but also I'm managing a water supply service program, which is installing water supply facilities. And interestingly, I learned at Oxford water supply service regulation. And what I learned from Oxford in water supply service regulation, drinking water quality, is what I'm actually applying right now where I am. So it's been quite a journey, I would say, very educative right from the time I was at Oxford, and indeed in the field where I'm actually applying exactly what I learned from Oxford. And for this, I'm grateful to the Nesta and Alex Ferguson, because that's really wonderful, and I will forever be grateful. And thanks for the organizers. At least it takes me back to my memories at Summertown, where I was residing, and St. Anne's. Wonderful. So thanks and cheerio.
Thank you so much, Amos. Thank you. That was really, really interesting, and a great story to hear, that if you don't make it first time round, keep trying, keep trying. I think that's a really important takeaway from this, actually. Fantastic. I think we've probably heard from everybody, if I'm not mistaken. We did have Ishmael at one stage, but I think he's dropped out of the call again now, unfortunately. I know he was having trouble with his internet. Okay, so I just wanted to open it up. If there's anybody who had any questions, or any of you want to sort of talk with each other or ask each other questions, because we've all had some really interesting testimonials of your time here in Oxford, but also of what you're doing now in many different places around the world. So is there anything you want to sort of ask each other or share, or go ahead, open up? Don't be shy.
I'll start.
Yeah.
I think it's more kind of just an offer and an enthusiastic like yes to the suggestion that we all keep in touch, right? So afterwards, I think one of the few good things that came out of the pandemic is that you realize that you know it's much easier to keep in touch with folks virtually than it was before. So everyone on the call, hopefully our contact details will be shared or made available, and we should definitely form a group, which I think would be really helpful, not only here on the call but others as well.
Absolutely. I think, well, it might be worth just saying, can we have all of your consent to share details with each other? And if that's okay, then what we'll do is we'll follow up with an email next week and share email addresses. But I would also really encourage you to think about setting up a LinkedIn group. So on the slides that Fiona shared, which again we can send round to you all, there are LinkedIn groups for each of the master's programs. Is that right, Fiona? Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward, I think, to set up a LinkedIn group. It's not too difficult, but it's a good platform to keep you connected and to sort of share experiences in that way as well. And then it's up to you if you want to kind of take it a next step and set up a WhatsApp group or whatever you like, really. But probably a good first step would be a LinkedIn group. And we can also send that invitation out then to the other alumni who weren't able to join this call today, to see if other people want to join that going forward. And I just think that will be a really good forum for you all to stay connected with each other and to share what you're doing, really. Any other thoughts or questions from anybody else? Any ideas that you wanted to ask or share? Good. Okay. Well, we will follow up next week with an email so that you can all stay connected with each other. And we're really inspired by hearing what you're doing. I think Fiona, you'll join me in saying what an extraordinary evening it's been actually to hear all of these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. So huge thanks to you, Felice, and your team for putting this together, and thanks to everyone for making the time. It's the end of week 4 here in Oxford, so if you can think back to what that feels like, it's been a busy 4 weeks so far, and this has really made my term so far, meeting you all. Genuinely mean that. You're such an inspiring group of individuals. And you know, you're doing such important, essential work at the minute. So I'm thinking of the news coming out of Egypt in the coming days. I mean, it really is essential, and the diversity of work that you're doing. So I just kind of echo Felice and say, please do stay in touch with each other, with college, and with the School of Geography. We genuinely love to hear from you with messages. If you happen to ever be in the UK, come and see us. Stay in touch with our students and our faculty. And again, just thanks so much for making the time this evening.
Fantastic. And what we will do as well is in our email that we follow up, we'll just we'll check with you if you want to receive any of St Anne's communications by email as well, to make sure that you're opted in to whatever you'd like to receive. And reiterate to you all that if you are back in Oxford, please, as Fiona said, please do come and see us. You're very welcome back to St Anne's and to the School of Geography at any time. You can come and stay in the college for a discounted rate because you're alumni, so you know, keep that in mind as well. And you can always use the college as a place to meet up with old friends too. It's a good place. You can hire facilities and you know, order catering and all that kind of stuff. So please do think of St Anne's as your home in Oxford. You're very welcome. If you ever do something interesting and that you would like to share in your careers, like if you publish a book or a report, or if you do something that's kind of noteworthy, then do let us know, because we have e-news that we circulate to all other alumni, and we'd love to share your success in that way. So please do keep in touch with us, and look out for an email next week from us all. But thank you hugely from me and St Anne's, and also from Fiona and the School of Geography. It's been a really fantastic evening. So bye for now. Okay, bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.